Welcome to the B-Sides and Beers podcast.
Welcome to B-Sides and Beers, episode 50. Tonight we're talking cider with Gina and Lindsay, owners of SHUSWAP CIDER CO out of Salmon Arm BC. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Appreciate you both joining us. Yeah, it's awesome. This is episode 50. Shout out, gentlemen. Nice job. I didn't think we'd make it to 50 episodes.
Yeah, didn't think we'd make it this far. This was an excuse for the three of us to hang out and drink beer over the past 2 years, and we're still doing it, obviously. So.
We figure we were hooking up all the time, just doing it in the garage. We figure let's start recording and see where it takes us. So here we are, 50.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But yes, this is the first B-Sides and Ciders episode, is episode 50. So this is exciting for us because all of us love cider, but we don't know much about it, and we don't know the process, and we kind of like to dive in that way. And maybe we could start by just telling us like how it all kind of came to be and how this whole thing started for all three of you. And yeah, if you could just talk about that.
Yeah, we'd love to talk about that. Thank you very much. So our other partner, Kaylee, she's not online at the moment. She has a little 10-month-old, so she's putting him down right now. So there are three partners, Gina, myself, and Kaylee. And we started this process a couple of years ago. We were all looking for a way to move on and out of our current careers. And we sat around, pretty sure we had quite a bit of red wine that night, and came up with a couple of ideas. And the one that really hit home for us was to open a cidery. I don't know if any of you know much about the Shuswap region, but we have lots of agriculture and a very strong apple and agricultural background here, so it just made sense to us, and that's where it all began. So just drinking wine, cidery, and then we did a lot of market research, which is, guys, very important when it comes to for sure.
testing.
That's. And I'm in Salmon Arm, so yeah, and there's lots of opportunity. It felt like nobody was doing anything for like a cidery in a town that is known for apples. It was kind of weird that way, don't you think? Like, yeah, it was a niche. Felt like.
Yeah, there actually was a cidery in Salmon Arm in between 1912 and 1925, I believe, in our research that we did. So we were not the first, but we're the first in many, many years. So, but like you folks, I think we really loved hanging out, and we wanted a reason to sit and drink together as well. Just like you like to drink beer together, we like to drink cider together. So it was a great fit for us. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I haven't been there. Do you have like a tap room there and a restaurant as well?
Oh, yes. We built our manufacturing facility, and it has a tap room, and it has a little retail area, and then we built a patio. So we don't have a lot of seating inside. It's mainly for tasting, and our patio is adjacent to the building. And then we also have access to the Panzuto food court, which makes all of our pizzas for the cidery. So you can come on in and you can get your flights or glasses of cider, or even any other alcohol that we may have on tap or in the serving that we're, like wine. And order pizza and off you go, sit on the patio.
Nice. Yeah.
You serve other alcohol as well, in addition to the cider that you make?
Yeah, we do. Like we're all about local. I mean, not only supporting, local farmers and other people that help us with our ingredients, like the lavender and the honey that go into our products. We also carry some local wine and local beer as well. and we make cider cocktails. So we have some really cool cocktails that we're always
oh wow,
just experimenting with. We had one really popular one this summer. We called it a peach iceberg. So it was 5 ounces of our semi-sweet cider, and we topped it with a peach puree iceberg with half an ounce of peach moonshine that came from After Dark Distillery in Sycamoose. So yeah, we like to do kind of cool things to kind of incorporate our local, other local business partners. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's always good to change it up with different styles. So
well, let's dive in. Yeah. I got dry apple, and I got to tell you all, and Mike can vouch for this. we did a a deal in the Home Depot parking lot of Vernon, where all the ciders were laid out in the back of the trunk, and just said, "Okay, man, like which ones do you want to take, and which ones am I going to take?
What do you want? What do you need?"
And we'll be honest, we crushed one in the Home Depot parking lot, the two of us.
Oh, cool. Which one was that? Can you tell us more?
The lavender honey. The lavender honey.
Okay.
Yeah, which was fantastic. So we did it out of sequence, but when I picked it up, Lindsay, I said it was going to be difficult to keep it, from drinking it before today. But I kept the rest. The rest are intact. So
It's pretty impressive, actually.
Thank you.
I was actually going to put some bets on you, but
oh, good. Yeah, no. We made it. Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it was tough. But okay, so I have dry apple. So can you tell us about dry apple, please?
Yeah, Gina, go for it.
Yeah, sure. So our dry apple is the driest cider we make. We actually make them all in a fairly dry fashion. We follow the English tradition of cider making. So they're not sweet like a pop, like you might find some commercial cideries are like just a sweet pop with alcohol in it. These are, handcrafted, dry, 100% local apples used in them. So it's fermented apple juice. It's not concentrate. It's just beautiful apples. So yeah, in the dry particularly, we have a few different varieties. We have some dessert apples like Macintosh and Spartan. And then the dry component is more from the apples that are like crab apple people would know. So there's Northern Spy, Bromley, and there are different kinds of drier apples that have the tart tannins that give you that mouthfeel of a dryness. So yeah, that's what's in our dry.
Awesome. So how many different apples then would be in here with different types? Or is that tough to say?
Yeah, I don't know, Lindsay, if you know the exact number, but blends often work better than single variety apples in a cider. It gives more complexity and balance. So Lindsay, do you know actually how many are in our dry? Or
I would say over 20, at least over 20 varieties. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, the majority is what Gina mentioned, the Max and Spartans, the sort of bulk dessert apples. But there's definitely some culinary in there and some crab apple styles. I mean, it's generally, like Gina said, the blends will be, the majority will be a couple of varieties, and then you'll get this mixture of other things. So it's pretty tough to be very specific, in choosing the apples that get into your fruit, into your cider. So
yeah.
So with 20, how do you come up with that blend? Is it tasting the apples before the process, or is it tasting during, after? Because that's a lot of different combinations.
Like how do you narrow it down to the specific apples that you are going to choose in this specific this offering?
Well, we do like to utilize our local farms, obviously. So we went with a lot of what we could get locally, right? A few of them we got out of the Salmon Arm area. Some of the ones with the tannins in them, the apple, Bromleys and Northern Spies came from a little bit further away, but we want to work with what we can get locally. So
that's awesome. Okay, I have a question for both of you, and I don't know if this is going to step on anybody else's toes, but I as a person who lives in Salmon Arm, and we won't name any names, but the orchard on the corner, I notice always apples that go unpicked, and like apples that are on the ground. They just go, like, it seems like they go to waste. And I don't know if you know anything about that. Like, why that happens, or yeah, I know that orchard on the corner is massive, and I know that that's a huge plot of land with lots of trees, but the ones that are near the road there, it feels like they're always just kind of like left. And I don't know if you know anything about that. If you don't, sorry, I brought it up.
No, we don't know anything about it, actually. I'm assuming that it was left because they didn't have enough time to pick them.
Yeah. Okay. No, sorry. I just thought maybe you had. It's been bugging me it's okay.
Every time you drive by.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Why is it there?
And this dry apple is fantastic. Like it's yeah. I'm not just saying that because you're both on this show, but it's really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Sorry, man.
I'm jealous.
We feel bad.
I've got a Persephone. A dry
that's
hop
what you're
cider.
drinking? Oh man, I feel so bad. Okay, tell me what you're drinking. What do you got?
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't, like I said, I went into the liquor store and I asked for SHUSWAP and they were like, nope. And I got a guy to go to the back and check and he was like, no. So there's always a difference here. I have stuff here that the guys don't have on the mainland. And
Lots of stuff.
yeah. But anyway, so they said no. And I'm not that familiar with cider, but I do like Persephone. So I grabbed a dry hopped cider.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, there's lots
what
of
that
great
means.
cideries on the island.
Yeah. So what would be a dry hop? I know like a dry hopped beer. Like, is there actual hops in the cider?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, absolutely. There's
okay.
Yeah, there could be a combination of hops, or it could be one particular style of hops, and it just imparts the same kind of flavors. So.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to experiment with a hop cider at some stage too.
Oh, neat.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how involved in the process of making this are the three of you, or is it like do you have like a brewmaster, quote unquote, sort of a setup, or is it just you three, coming up with all this and you learned how to do it over a certain amount of time, or let's over wine. Let's start a winery or a cidery. What do we do? I don't know. Let's crush an apple and see what happens.
Well, it shows you that you can do anything you put your mind to, because we didn't know anything about cider making before we started the cidery.
Wow.
And we did go to school for it. The three of us attended, and we became we completed the course, and we became cider apprentices. And and so we did our first batches. We had the juice in the tanks, not long or around the time, of course, we received our manufacturing license. And we do have a consultant that we work with. So this individual is fantastic. We work really well with her, but she is out of province. And so we do everything over Zoom or, FaceTime. And right. Yes, that's how we started. So Kaylee's actually has fulfilled that role of cider maker. So she does all of it now. So she does the testing, and she does these trials, and but we all do kind of everything together. It's just we've all fallen into particular roles. So
very cool.
Yeah. You know what? And it takes a lot of guts to start something like that from scratch. I think like,
no kidding.
Not only the capital and the know-how, but the wherewithal to stick with it and to be able to, to do something like that. That takes a lot of guts, right? It's a leap of faith, I feel like. Having not done it myself, right? I can only imagine, right? Like, yeah.
Well, the three of us were lucky in the fact that we all volunteered together for a good couple of years before we thought this up. So we knew we could work well together. Kaylee, our other partner that's not on right now, she organized a local women's networking group that has a large community giving component to it. And we started that up in 2018. And the three of us were on a board of 5. And we, actually, we've got our $100,000 mark coming up for what we've raised for the community this next month.
Congratulations.
So yes, we've worked on that together, and we knew we could work well together. So it was a great fit to kind of try out your business partners before you actually invest any money.
No kidding.
Good thing we did.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, good point. Oh, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. It's really nice. We've been sort of, I mean, it was almost like not intentionally, but we've been really focusing on British Columbia breweries for the most part. And time again, this sort of sentiment of community comes up, and it's really important. And I must say, it's something that I find super refreshing. Even some places that don't want to get too big to outgrow their community
or even just to outgrow their farm, like Crano.
Yeah.
When it's all based on what we produce on the farm and how we recycle all of the waste from the production back into our farm. It's massive. So it's cool to see it at that small base.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, like your story is the sort of the same thing where you have your focus on community, and that's what kind of got you that foundation to start, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. So, and we've had a great amount of support from our women's networking group that Kaylee started in 2018, actually a little bit earlier than that. It was kind of more informal before, but yeah, it's been such a ton of support from all those women and local businesses. They just want to see us succeed. They know us in the community, and they come out and try our cider and they love it, and they volunteer and help us on canning days and things like that where we need a little extra hand. One of our other friends from our networking group, she's gone out to the Kootenays this week, and she's taking some samples out there to drop at a couple of restaurants and liquor stores. So we're so lucky to have so many great people that just really want to see us do well. So
yeah.
So I do have a little proposition there for you, gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So next time we're canning, maybe you'd like to come out and do some canning. Have any of you done canning before?
I have never done canning. It's always interested me.
I'm very interested in this proposition.
Right on. Yeah. So I will send you a little message after the taping is over.
Fantastic. Yeah, great.
We'll get you hooked up.
Awesome. Yeah.
There's your photo op for the Instagram account right there. Just canning the cider. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Okay, why don't I pause at this moment, because I still want to keep going with the ciders. So what would be next?
Yeah.
The semi-sweets.
Semi-sweet. So this is the lineup of how you would do a tasting, I guess.
Yes,
right?
Actually, how many ciders do you have, Mike? Again?
I have two. We have two each.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two each, and then the fifth or whatever it's shared.
So
it's gone.
What's the next one? What other ones do you have? Gone. Sorry, I just can't remember. So we might want to put you on something else.
I've got the Haskap berry and the cherry rosé.
Okay, and then Mike, what do you have?
Ooh. I've got the dry apple and the semi-sweet apple. Yep.
Okay, sure. We'll do the semi-sweet next.
All right. Sorry, man. After me. Can you please tell us about this one?
Gina, go for it.
Yeah, no, the semi-sweet is a very popular one. It's a little sweeter, like it says in the name. We add a little bit of raw sugar to that one. And there are more of the dessert blends than the tannic apples. So you're not going to get that dry feeling, in the back of your tongue as much with that one, because we don't have those apples present in that one. It's a very easy drinking cider. It's clear, crisp, just really light bubbles. We use a champagne yeast in all the ciders. It's a nice one for people who are used to the sweet kind of alcohol pop ciders, like just transitioning to learning about craft cider, because the dry one is quite dry and the semi-sweet is a nice kind of introduction into craft cider.
And you don't notice how dry the dry is until you have the semi-sweet right after it.
That's right. That's why we have you dry first.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, this one's pretty sweet. Like, this one's pretty good. And then I tried this one. I'm like, whoa, this is sweeter, not way sweeter, but you can tell the difference.
Noticeably. Yeah.
Is there would you do a sweet for after a meal, or is there a preference for a dry or a sweet, or is it just up to personal taste?
Yeah, Lindsay has a bit of a wine background, so why don't you speak to that, Lindsay?
It's generally personal taste. I mean, are you thinking pairing it with food? Is that the kind of question you're asking?
Yeah, or is it like, is one like more of a winter cider compared to a summer, or is there like more of appropriate time to have a dry compared to a sweet?
Oh no, not necessarily, not at all, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, some people prefer the sweet, because it can actually enhance some certain flavors come out. Like if you're having, sort of say spicy foods, you might want to do a little bit sweeter. But then you can also pair sweet with sweet, like you said, you cracked the lab honey there, and that can actually pair with also something a little sweet too, like a dessert. So so it really depends. It's personal, and then sometimes dry goes really well with, depending what other flavors come out with it. But you could, have a nice, sort of meat dish, right? Sort of rich and creamy kind of dish, and the dry, because of the tannics and the mouthfeel, will cut through that and kind of make it a cleaner feel. So so it really, there's no, I mean, there's always set ways, right? If you talk to a real expert, but it really depends on a lot of it on your own personal tastes. But generally, I think, people in the summer, they really like that crispness, right? The fresh and crisp. And so things like dry goes really well in the summertime. The cherry rosé, when we get to that, you'll kind of see that'll really pop, in the summer, in the hot months. So again, right, it's all personal preference, but.
Yeah. Nice. I used to, I lived in Europe for a little while, and around the holidays, we'd drink something called glühwein, like a hot mulled wine kind of thing with like cinnamon and spices in it. And I've had a cider like that as well, which was really nice around like the winter time. It just sort of, it kind of reminds me of just a wintry type of drink.
Yeah, by all means.
It's like beer.
We did do a spiced cherry cider at Christmas time, just in a small release.
Nice.
So yeah, it is quite a popular thing to have some of those kind of winter spices to kind of warm up your, sitting in front of the fire and.
To feel all cozy.
Yeah.
We wanted to ask too, who does the artwork for the cans?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
well, it's
cool.
a neighbor to you in Courtney there. It's a company out of Nanaimo called Hired Guns. They were fantastic to work with. And the scenes on the cans are just scenes from around SHUSWAP Lake with the different mountains and beach lines in the background. And nice and clean and classic looking.
Yeah, it's classy looking. It's
nice.
a classy looking can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have they been with you from the start, or did you start off with other art and then kind of find these guys?
No, they were with us right from the beginning of creation. It was a really cool process. Hey, Lindsay, it was probably one of our most fun kind of processes to, you start out with a font and a logo, and then, you just keep adding little pieces in, and the three of us would go, I like this, I don't like that. They would, come with a couple new ideas to kind of hone in on what we were looking for. And it was a process, but the three of us really just, you just start trying to get the feeling of what you want to portray in your product. And we really love the scenes from around the SHUSWAP, and having there's a bee and a lavender sprig there on the honey lavender can. And it's just very, very calming looking images, I think.
Yeah. And the logo is good too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we get to the next cider, though, I wanted to ask you, and we both, Mike and I, noticed these, and we've never seen these before. What it came in, like the biodegradable or the recyclable.
Yes,
we've seen the plastic ones, the 4-pack holders, but not the biodegradable ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, they're called. So it's a company that was out of the States, and we sourced them long before we had opened. And it was Texas, actually, and they sent us some samples, and they are compostable 4-pack rings. And luckily, certainly getting them from Texas would have been an issue over, the COVID period. But luckily, early on in the days there is a local company across Canada that they carry them now. So they distribute for them as well, I should say. So, So we are, Gina, I think there's another company that uses that, we heard.
Yeah, I think it was it a beer? I believe.
Yes.
Is it Begbie? Mount Begbie?
Not Begbie. It's on the tip of my tongue. It might come later. Barkersville. Isn't that right, Gina? Barkersville?
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, Barkerville.
Barkerville.
I've
Yeah.
heard of them.
Mhm.
Is that a town in BC? Is that Barkerville?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I remember that. Interesting.
Yeah, so Barkerville, and then I do believe Rustic Roots has it too, out in down in Similkameen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they carry it too, but yeah, very few carry it that we know of.
So cool.
I've very rarely seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Such a great
It's
idea.
brilliant.
Such a great idea. Yep. What's next?
And well, why don't we do the cherry rosé?
Let's do the cherry rosé. So I've been drinking the Haskap berry here for the last little bit. Is this gonna throw me off?
You skipped the
going
line.
to
You jumped the queue.
Oh man,
No,
Are you
I
chewing
couldn't
gum,
wait, dude? No man, I couldn't wait, man. It was just I didn't know which one to start
I
with,
held out.
and I'm sorry.
you know,
I'm sorry.
I honestly have to say there's no rules here, so why don't we do the Haskap then?
Okay. Well, let's do the rosé because I just opened it.
Okay.
So let's see. Wow, that's really good.
Awesome. Yeah, that one is
That's
a
very
blend
good.
of cherry wine with our apple cider. So anything that has an apple base in it for alcohol is cider, and any other fruit is a wine when you make it into alcohol. And when you make pears into alcohol, it's called a perry, when it's completely pears.
Okay. Because that's another thing I was going to ask is, why wouldn't they use like a peach cider or a pear cider or whatever? That makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So but this is fantastic.
He's drinking copious amounts for those listening.
Are you
It's
thinking
good. I
of
can't stop.
converting,
It's
Mike?
No, but I'm definitely putting it in the in the rotation for sure.
It's super nice. I have to say, over the Christmas holidays, I was drinking cider. It was just like a nice break from the usual loaf of bread, beer type of Christmas diet that I have. But it is definitely nice to sort of break it up.
Yeah, it's gluten free too, right? So people
exactly
who can't have gluten or don't want to have gluten, cider is a perfect alternative because it's just naturally gluten free. So
yeah. Actually, my fiance is celiac, so I'm quite aware of this. I'm quite aware of the struggle. So, yeah.
And I was going to mention too, alcohol content in these, and the dry apple is 7.1, the semi-sweet is 7.
Yeah. Oh,
and the rosé is
6.2.
6.2. Did you say?
And the honey lavender.
So is that
6,
like kind of a standard alcohol, like, by volume for cider, or is that higher than usual, or how do you kind of settle on that?
Well, I mean, by nature, when you ferment, it will come up to those quantities quite easily. So if someone wants to actually reduce the alcohol content, there's certain process that you would do to bring that down. So we didn't do that in ours. So that's why there's a bit of a range. And it is allowable from the labeling standards that you can have a bit of a range in there.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, so it doesn't have to be exact, like it's within a certain percentage, a very small percentage, but it's allowed in there. So,
is there some sort of a maximum allowed alcohol limit or a maximum that you could reach in your process, or it just kind of?
Yes, I believe.
Because sometimes you see IPAs are like a 10% or a 9 points, like they get higher end, right?
Only the ones you drink, Mike.
Only the ones I drink, yes.
Well, we'll be called a wine if we go that high.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Okay, gotcha.
There you
So
go.
once you get, Gina, I can't remember what's the amount then. If we get over, then it's constituted as a wine. 11%, is it, or is it even 8 something?
I know there's a reason we don't want to go over 7, and we haven't. Yeah, I've forgotten. We've just been in this range, and I haven't thought about being out of this range and why we haven't been out of the range for a while. So just
it's
sticking
working.
to what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly don't claim to know everything. We're always learning all the time, guys.
Yeah, and that's great. Yeah,
Fair enough.
I can
Add
imagine.
to our file folder and go, oh, right.
Yeah,
That's okay. We're all here to learn.
Yeah.
So
some more than others. We know. Yeah,
Some more than
next to
others.
nothing. So that whole process. Can you tell us about that process? Like okay, so you have all of the apples now, that you have the 20 apples, variety of apples that you've collected. You've got the champagne yeast. You've got all of the ingredients together. Now what happens? Where does it all go down? What happens? Where does it get to where I'm canning it on a Saturday afternoon and stealing sips? Where does that?
Oh, no. First of all, you don't steal sips.
Okay.
You-
Oh,
you
well, I
get
don't
a
know if I'm
lot
into.
of-
Oh man,
Yeah,
you're fired
okay.
We
already.
get a
All
lot of reject cans. So we call them reject cans. I don't know if that's like a standard term when you can, but they're called reject cans. And quite often there can be a lot and you have to drink them. Like there's just no way.
Okay.
We
All
don't
right.
waste
Well,
a
if
thing.
you have to,
Absolutely.
then you have to.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
We don't waste a thing.
Perfect.
That's not.
beauty.
That might be why we have quite a few volunteers that like to come out.
So you're saying I'm not the only one? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but Lindsay, do you want to talk about the process after the apples are picked? And
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You get the apples. We have a juicing company that comes out. They're mobile. They go out to the farm, and all the apples are picked by the orchardist, and then they get pressed through the juicing. It's like a juicing van. And then they get pumped. All that juice gets pumped into a tote, which is those very large IBC totes you see on farms. And that juice gets transported over to our facility. We pump it into the tanks. We add yeast. We let it do its thing. We let it ferment, and we can stop fermentation at any time, or we can continue to ferment to dry. And that's just by doing trials over certain amounts of weeks. And then you just let it sit, and then you pull the yeast off, and then you transfer the juice into a clean tank, and then we'll have a look at that, and we'll do trials again for that. And then there's certain things we may add back into it, like it's quite common to add something like, say, a malic acid, which gives it more apple flavor. You might add that back into there depending on the type of juice that you just got. And so it's a little bit of a few trials there. There's certain things that we add for clarity. So you've probably maybe have seen some cloudy ciders before, like still ciders or cloudy ciders.
Yeah.
Ours are all clear, so we do a clarifying process. So we'll do that too. And then at the very end, before we go through a lot of filtration. So we filter instead of pasteurize. There's two ways to stabilize your product. One, you could certainly add a lot of preservatives and stabilizers. You could pasteurize, which is just like throwing it into a big hot water bath, or you can filter. And we opted to filter our product, and that just reduces and gets out all the impurities down to like 0.05 microns. And that stabilizes the product in the cans, because we don't want our can to explode, right?
Sure.
And then it goes through that same process, goes into, like I said, 5 times, and then it goes into our bright tank, which is our carbonation tanks, and that creates all the bubbles in it. We add our CO2, and again, you want to reach a little bit of a certain CO2 regulation there, just in regards to bubbles, like how, do we want sort of, a lot of bubbles, like some things you may have seen are highly carbonated as compared to not as much carbonated. And that's the last process before canning.
Awesome. And sorry, in that process, from the beginning to end, how many days is that?
You can do it in as quick as 6 weeks, but that could be a stretch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be a stretch. You don't want it to ferment too quickly, generally. So we have all of our tanks are temperature controlled, so we can control that even though it might be really hot outside or really cold outside.
Cool. Sorry, Dane, go ahead.
So when you press the juice, the pulp stays on the farm?
Yeah, they'll just post it
Interesting.
back.
Okay. Yeah, that's really nice.
Is that okay? That mobile juicer, is that the same mobile juicer that they have at the like Apple Fest that they bring out there? That
Yes.
Oh, that thing is mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
always.
it's a different company,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's the same concept.
Oh, I'm so like, I bring the kids to watch that thing. It's just this whole thing that is like, it's beautiful. It's like this stainless steel massive unit that just does everything. It like juices everything, and it just does a high volume. And I always try to like talk to the people that are running it, but nobody ever speaks English. So I'm like, how does this work? What are you doing here? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I don't know. I can't speak. So, but that thing is, it's cool. Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. We got one left.
Yes.
That you've already.
That is the Hascap. So I've already noticed that the rosé is quite a bit smoother than the Hascap. Just like a back of the tongue sort of, I don't know if it's a bitterness or what it would be, but
yeah, I mean, we definitely have followings for both for different reasons.
They're both
I like myself. I like that cherry rosé in the summer. I find it really nice and smooth and just easy drinking. The Hascap, that's also, Hascaps are from Salmon Arm as well, and that has a little bit more of a berry taste to it.
Definitely.
So what's the plan for this? Oh, sorry, Lindsay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to interrupt there. I think we would love to tell you the story about the Hascap berries. Hey, Gina?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Please.
No, you do it. I texted Kaylee. Kaylee said she's trying
Rock, paper, scissors.
She's trying to bathe her boy for bath time.
Well, the Hascap berries come from a farm just outside of Salmon Arm, and the people that own it, the two of the ladies there, they are also members of our women's networking group, and they are also a part of. They're trying to create what is it? It's not a society. It's a
social enterprise.
A social enterprise. So they're trying to bring awareness and help for victims of childhood sexual abuse. So they are doing different things to raise funds to create a retreat there with all of the counselors and therapies and things that are necessary to help people, that have been through that type of situation. So with the Hascap berry, we give back $1 per every liter that we sell. We get $1 back to their social enterprise to help them with their project. So,
wow, that's huge. Very cool.
Wow,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, great. We'll keep drinking the Hascap berry then, Mike.
There we go.
Oh, and they're called You Grow Girl. I don't think I said that. So yes, You Grow Girl. And they have a flower farm there as well. And they sell flowers at farmers markets. They make candles and bath salts and things like that too. So they're quite diverse in their activities to raise awareness and funds for their social enterprise. So
cool. Yeah,
we're really proud to be working with them.
No kidding. It's neat that you can incorporate all of that into your business, right? All of that, the charity stuff as well, right? Like, and even past things that you've had and connections that you've had to be able to bring that in. That's pretty neat. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we have tons of support, and we want to give support back wherever we can to the community. So
yeah. And the Hascap berry is a like kind of a tart berry, is it not? Like, I remember picking some of these in town.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe they weren't ripe. Can you tell me what the Hascap berry should taste like when it's ripe?
They're kind of a neat little thing. Like, I didn't really know much about Hascap berries until just a few years ago, but they're hugely popular around here, and they're a very hardy plant. They grow them quite a bit further north as well, and they're like a blueberry, but kind of a long blueberry, and they have a very thin skin, so they're harder to bring to market because they break a lot more easily. But of course, we just squash them all up and put them in our cider, so we don't mind that part of it. But yeah, they're I like the dried Hascap berries. Those I think I prefer over just the fresh ones. But Lindsay, what do you think of the Hascap when they're fresh?
Yeah, I don't mind them. I have to say they're very expensive because they're very just I wouldn't say difficult to grow. I don't think they're difficult to grow. I don't know really why they're so pricey. I think it's because of the harvest involved, or
they're just very delicate, right? They're delicate, and it's hard
the shelf life. Yeah,
the yield maybe is not as much. But they are like one of the first berries to ripen. Strawberries are generally early too. So, but I think Haskaps are the first ones to ripen in very early June. So, and I know that birds love them. So there's this huge issue of getting to them before the birds do, and then they have to put all the netting down, which is also very laborious and time consuming. So I think that's what increases the price of the Haskap berries.
Just see the picking crew in the field fighting off birds as they're trying to pull it.
Yeah,
that's why it's so expensive. It's the
extra man hours on that. Yeah,
extra man hours, the danger pay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm looking on your website here, and it says what you have on tap. Now it's how do you come up with the different varieties? Now you've got your Perry that's 100% pear. You've got the Haskap. You've got a ginger pear and a blueberry and I'm not even going to try and say that. Small batch Ortega.
Ooh, you said that very well.
Yeah. Woohoo!
And for the record, I had the Ortega and the blueberry. Both were unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
local. We just, we come up with what we put on tap by what is available for us around town. So the blueberries are from Blue Eden Farm, and that's out in Glen Eden, and they're organic blueberries. So we use those, and Lindsay knows the folks out at Sunnybray Winery, and Kaylee and Lindsay went out there and got a bunch of Ortega grapes and did co-ferment with our apple cider with that one.
Yeah, I've had the Ortega, like an Ortega wine before, but I've never had an cider. Yeah, so
delicious.
But I had never had an cider. I didn't know that could be done. So, but excellent. Yeah, really good.
It's very delicious. It's very yummy.
Yeah.
It's
dangerous. It's dangerous.
It's dangerous, yeah.
That's maybe the best way to put it. Yeah.
Super sneaky.
It's almost like a little Prosecco kind of idea.
Yeah.
It's very light, and it's got some tropical fruit there because of the Ortega, and like lychee and passion fruit, and it's just like a lovely celebration drink. Or that's how we marketed it at the holiday time, because that's when we released it, not soon before that we came out with the Ortega. So it was like, this is perfect for the holidays.
Yeah, totally. Well, and speaking of the holidays, okay, so what's coming up for SHUSWAP Cider this spring and summer? Can you release any, give us any hot tips of what you got coming up, or do we just have to come and wait?
Gina, what do you think?
Well, I know
tell them.
We have some blackberries fermenting back there, so we'll do a blackberry cider. Kaylee's been doing some trials with that. We also have a peach mango coming, and so that'll be kind of cool. The peaches themselves, Lindsay, you and Kaylee were saying that peach, there's not a ton of flavor in peaches. They're just very watery, and it's really hard to get that natural peach flavor unless you like back sweeten with peach concentrate or something. It's really hard to get that flavor through. So we've paired it with mango to kind of, so we've got some subtle peach and some mango flavors in there. And so we're looking forward to having that one on tap pretty soon too.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Okay, we want to wrap it up with talking a little bit of music, if you are okay with that. Yeah. And Lindsay gave us two names, and we loved it because it's just not our usual, and that was that, and neither is cider. So
yeah, you brought us out of our safe zone, which is nice.
Yeah. So and these names are Etta James, which I only knew one song. I'll be honest, I only know one song.
Really?
I don't think I knew anything else. Yeah, really? it kind of felt like, I don't know, like
it's like one of the best singers.
I came late to the whole party then, because I was listening to like Ella Fitzgerald, that kind of stuff, like, but I never ended up in even like Nina Simone. Like I was listening to that kind of stuff, but
did Dude, you're like a Chess Records guy,
yeah, but
aren't
like
you?
it kind of felt like At Last came out, and then she got big again, but she was always there, right? Like I looked it up, she was active 1954 to 2012, 58 years. She's making music.
She's done like every genre of music.
Unbelievable. In the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in the Blues Hall of Fame, like you name it, right?
Yeah.
Lindsay, why did you give us Etta James?
I just always loved Etta James. I love, just her style, her gumption, I guess, her performance style. I don't know. I mean, I love all the other names you all said, Aretha Franklin too, and Nina Simone. But just Etta's always stood out for me. And I have a little dark secret. Well, it's not really dark, but I have a little secret about Etta James is that. So I've always wanted a hobby farm.
Yeah.
And one day when I'm going to have my hobby farm, I'm going to have a guard goose. And her name is going to be Etta.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Just patrolling the front.
There you go. Heard it first right here.
Totally patrolling the whole farm.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I really got into a lot of it too. Growing up, my mom's a singer, so she got into doing a lot of covers of Etta James, and so growing up, it was sort of in the background, quite frequently. But doing this new dig into more of her stuff, she has a lot more bite and edge and attitude than many of the other female vocalists that you talked about before. And you can just see how she just has this, I don't know, it's this little, it's not mean, but it's just this little backs. It's so cool. It's
probably what kept her going.
It seems it seems very authentic. And I have to say, like, the connection that I have is Roll With Me, Henry, I think is the name of the song. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's one from the earlier years. I think she did this one in like 50s, 54, 55 or something like that. Anyway, it was on Back to the Future. And I was like, at work Thursday or Friday, I'm just like listening to Etta James, and that song came on, and I just have a flashback to Back to the Future. They're in the cafe, and Marty McFly is doing something or other, but it was on that movie, and it just like brought me back. But what a great song. We were listening to, I'm trying to remember the name of the album that was on during supper and dancing around our little baby eating dinner and listening to Etta James. It was really nice. Yeah. But going back to your comment, Mike, I think I listened to a live concert. It was her first concert in France. Yeah. And she was like, a lot of people thought I was jazz, or this is when they thought that I was a jazz singer. And I think she really identified with being a blues singer. Yeah. Like she did the rock and roll like great. Yeah. I love that stuff, but her blues is fantastic.
It's unreal. And it's cool how she seems to have influenced like Janis Joplin. I can see a lot of that flavor, that style just kind of transfer through, which is it's super cool. So yeah.
And the second name that you gave us was the Whitlams, and I didn't know this band, and then I saw their hit, and I was like, oh, I remember No Aphrodisiac back in the 90s. I remember that floating around when that whole like during the whole alternative thing. I remember that, and I went back and listened to that song again. But like these, like they are one of the most successful indie bands in like Australian music history, and like they've been going for 30 years. But they are like one of the truly like independent bands that like actually made it, and actually had some hits. Yeah. So what's your connection with the Whitlams, Lindsay?
Well, I dated one of them. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow. I was going to say.
It's the father of my child.
Awesome. I slept with all of them or something. No, you're not going to air that, right?
Well, we're putting it at the front of the episode,
probably will.
That's how we're starting
exactly.
it.
Yeah, that's the
lady
teaser.
in BC says she slept with all of these bands. No, I just, I lived in Australia for a number of years, and it was just a band that we listened to at the time, and just has a lot of very strong memories for me. And I love the I love the lyrics and the style, just that typical indie, I don't know typical, but like an indie band. And that's all. I can't really say anything else much more than that.
Yeah.
I have a question. If you've made it, are you still indie?
Am I, pardon?
It's a good question. That's another episode, Dane. But yes, a very good question. Definitely. If you've made it, are you still considered independent? Right? Like that's, I don't know. Yeah, you know, and I don't know if they've actually made it, but I mean, I remember that song. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh yeah,
I do too.
Heard this one, I've heard this. So
yeah, well, and it's wild how they can be so massive in Australia, and over here we know like one, maybe two songs. It's just unreal.
Yeah, no.
How big this world
totally,
is.
For sure. Thank you both for coming on here. This was awesome. We learned a ton, and we had a really good time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
This is great. We really appreciate the opportunity to share more about cider with all your listeners, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll definitely be down for that canning. Thank you so much for the offer with that. That's so great.
Yeah, you just have to be prepared to do 10 hours.
At least
10 hours of drinking? 10 hours a
day for a week.
Yeah, 10 hours of drinking, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Very physical labor too, so.
That's okay.
I'll have to crawl all the way home.
Yeah. You're sleeping in
Organized
the trailer.
babysitters.
Yes, totally. Absolutely.
We had a lot of fun. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we want you guys to subscribe, share, and review this podcast. Keep it going, keep it strong, because we're having a great time entertaining you guys with B-Sides and Beers podcast.